All right, welcome back. This is David Elliott. This is going to be part 1B. We are going to quickly go over the full functionality of the CRM calculator here. Part 1 was more of an in-depth analysis of all of the functionalities. What we're going to do on part 1B is not so much of an in-depth, but more of an overview. And we're just going to quickly go over a typical routine example of what you as the individual might be doing on an everyday basis. I think that would help a lot. So let's get started. Remember that this row here is going to be your master input. So row 2 is extremely important. So let's start off over here, and as I go, I will explain. Let's put in the agent and seller's name. Click enter. Please select your deal type. In this case, it may be a cash, a sub-2, seller finance, hybrid, novation, or other. Let's just click on sub-2. Let's put in the agent or seller's name. Click enter. Put in the agent or seller's telephone number. Put in the property address. And click enter. Okay, now as you saw, all of these inputs were automatically translated over to the next free available states, right? So this is where your master list or autosave feature functionality is going to be. So it's a super helpful in the sense that as you progress throughout the day and you are making calls to other individuals, you are not obligated to remember the deal type, the person's name, maybe the property address, right? All this information will be automatically saved for you. So that way you can focus on just acquisitions and not have to remember more of the tedious property info. So this would be an example. And so as we are progressing through the day, you would simply just input on row 2. And when you are talking to a new prospect, whether it's a seller or with an agent, it will automatically get updated on the list below. And this will save you some valuable time. If you ever need to pull up their email address or phone number, for example, you'll have that on a record keeping. Now let's take a look over on column G and column H, row 2. If you want to CC somebody or BCC someone, you absolutely can. If you don't know what BCC means, BCC is a private functionality of any type of email provider where the individual that is BCC'd is not seen by the other party. And since they're not seen, that individual who is BCC'd, your choice, can view and be a part of the email exchanges without notifying the other individual that they are indeed tagged on the email. Here we're just going to put in a random CC and BCC just for the sake of demonstration. Now that the inputs are generated up on the top, today is Tuesday, so I might come over here and say, "Good evening, Bob. Happy Tuesday," or whatever terminology you want to use. Simply just come in here and edit this to your liking. So in this case, I'm going to say, "Good evening, Bob. Happy Tuesday." This will be the start of the email. And you'll see that when we auto-populate the email. For the body paragraph, I might keep it simple just for the sake of time. Let's just click on seller has 3 days to make a decision or walk. Let's put in our EMD of $2,000. Let's change the DD period to 5 days. Actually, let's change that one more time. I want to include the excluding Sundays. So we'll change the 8 to a 5. Close of escrow on cash, let's say 30. Close of escrow on creatives, let's say 16. Okay, once these inputs are all generated here, this is your prospect, whether you're talking to an agent or seller. So as you are having a conversation on the phone or you're doing some sort of email exchange, this is what you are touching first. These are the inputs that you want to be manipulating when you're doing single email use. So if we head over to the cash versus creative, once you are done with the calculations, which we will cover over in videos part 2 of 4, once you're done with the math, click on the template that is responsible for the acquisition type. So for example, you have a seller finance type here. If you're doing seller finance, you may want to click on the seller finance tab. So we're going to be using this template. This template will be for sending out an LOI. That is your property address that was saved from the master tab. And these numbers here are being pulled from the cash versus creative tab over here. And it's also pulling information from certain cells from this section below as well. So once this is done and you've had a look over and everything looks fine and dandy, simply click Convert Text to PDF. You saw that loading feature. If I pull up the folder, you will see that it's saved here, 321 Main Street, letter of intent. And now if we click Send Email, Bob's email that was generated from the input for single email use is being pulled from this column and row. We have the CCC and the BCC that was auto-generated. You have the PDF, which you converted into a PDF once you had a look over it and everything was according to your liking, automatically gets structured and saved and attached to the email. Okay, and then we also have the shared inputs for EMD, DD period, close of escrow, and of course your name and number below. We had a conversation on part 1 of how to change the embedded picture, so please refer back to that if you want to attach a company logo, for example. So that concludes the single email use. Let's say the deal acquisition type was sub 2. I would simply come over to the sub 2 tab. I don't necessarily need to click Convert Text to PDF as there's already a file in place with that same file name. But if I were to click Delete and click Convert Text to PDF, you can see here that it auto-generated. We'll now click Send Email, and now this would be your sub 2. This would be for sub 2 acquisition. Now, recall that the body text and the start text is being pulled from this column and row. So if I want to change this, I absolutely can. So let's go back. We'll change that to a different body text. Go over to sub 2 tab, click Send Email, and we can see here that everything updated, and it had also included the property address that we are referring to embedded in the body paragraph itself. That was also discussed on part 1. So this is for single email use. You can see how quick and easy that this is. And with that being said, let's go over to the blast email functionality. Let's say it's the end of the day, and being that it is the end of the day, you want to send out emails to all of your potential prospects what you would simply do is you would start on the row that was begun at the start of the day. So let's say Denacia was the first call of the day, and let's say Bob was the last call of the day. Being that Denacia was the first call and Bob was the last call of the day, I want to send out LOIs to all these people at the exact same time. So in order to do that, we would then come over here to this functionality. So since we are sending out an LOI, what I will do is I will say, we will click on this drop down here. We can see here that it says Happy Friday, quickly following up on our LOI submission. If you click on the one below that, it'll auto-populate to A22. You can edit this to your liking. So this is just a free template for you to use. Let's change the row number to row 30. Row 30 is going to be where we are going to start our blasting of emails. Let's see, let's change this to good evening since we're doing this at the end of the day. And we're going to attach the LOI. So when I now click on blast email, you will see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 emails auto-populate. Now, these property addresses, some of these property addresses have not been saved, I don't believe, as an LOI. So we'll see if it does attach it or not. My presumption is no, because there's no saved PDF with this file name. There's a few of these that we were just kind of miscellaneously putting together, but you'll see the functionality now. Okay, so beginning off with Bob, I'm going to minimize everything other than Bob. I'm going to go bring Bob back up. And Bob's email was bob123@gmail.com with a property address of 321 Main Street. So you can see that this information here was pulled and auto-populated. The body paragraph was included. The body paragraph is coming from column A, row 21. And the common inputs are from here, marked in yellow. And then we have the PDF that was automatically generated. Now, to get the PDF to auto-generate itself, you still need to come over to the perspective tab. So this is really important to remember. 321 Main Street was an input that was generated at the beginning of the day. Once you are done with the math, come over to the tab, click on Convert Text to PDF. By doing so, you are creating the PDF in real time. So if I click Convert Text to PDF, you can see here that it's saved. And this is important for the blasting of emails. If you did all of this and you did all of the math needed and you didn't go to the appropriate tab at the bottom to convert the text to PDF, the next time that you are working with a prospect, let's say you're now working with David, and you're working on a new prospect, this will automatically get updated. So you want to make sure that you are saving your work along the way. You can see here now that this LOI is being updated. So the best way to do this is to, once you're done having a conversation with a prospect, do the math, then save your work. Save your work, convert the text to PDF. Once the PDF is saved, you no longer have anything to worry about. You can either send the email immediately, or you can wait till the end of the day to send out the email. But remember, if you don't save the PDF, then when it comes time to do a blasting of email, 321 Main Street LOI did not exist because you did not save it. So make sure you're saving your work along the way. So what we're going to do is we're going to click the backspace button. That did not work. Interesting. Okay, well, no worries. What we can do is just move on to all the emails that were auto-generated here. Bob, 321 Main Street. We've got, looks like, who is this? This is a different Bob. Okay, Bob from row 34. Bob from row 34 has an email of 090@gmail.com and a property address of 999 Main Street. So as I go through these emails, you'll see how everything's lining up. We have David from row 33, and his email was 123@gmail.com with a property address of 123 Main Street. I think you're getting the picture here. You can see how powerful and easy something like this can be. And so what I'll do now is I'll just exit out from all this. And let's see. This was an older email here. Let's pick on, let's say, for example, you didn't want to start at row 30. Let's say you wanted to start just on row 36. Just come on over here to the start at row, click blast email, and it'll only pull from the selected row. So you have that availability at your fingertips too. So this could be used for multiple emails or single email use. I would prefer to just use a single email use as I am having a conversation on the phone with the prospect, and I could just send out that email immediately. And then what I like to do is just have this functionality here for blasting of emails towards the end of the day or in the afternoon or whenever. Now, in terms of the LOI status, we did submit an LOI. So we can change the status. Let's say we're now at a DD period, or let's say they're interested and they want us to follow up, or maybe the offer got rejected. You can update the status along the way. Because there are filters here at the top, we can also filter this by the status. So for example, if I wanted to send out an LOI for interested follow-ups, or maybe a follow-up of no response, let's say I wanted to target certain individuals based off of their status, I absolutely can. So for example, let's change this one to follow-up no response, follow-up no response. And what I'll do now is I'll click on the status. We'll deselect everything other than the follow-up no response. Click OK. What you want to do is look over on the left-hand side, make sure that there are no breaks. So right now we have row 30, 31, and 32. As long as there's no breaks between these rows, then the blasting of email will only send out emails to these individuals. If you run into a situation where you see a break between row 31 and let's say row 32, let's say row 32 was numbered as 34 as opposed to 32, and there's a break between both of these, the best way to fix that is to go through the status and then filter by color. If you don't know how to filter by color, it's super easy to do. Click on conditional formatting here, and then click on highlight cell rules, click equal to, actually, there's actually a better way. Let's go back to highlight cells, click text that contains, and whatever text it is, let's say, for example, it's follow-up, no response. And let's change the color for, I don't know. Let's do a custom format. They give you a drop-down functionality here, but let's make it interesting. Let's do font color black and a fill color of dark red. Click OK. Then click OK again. And now the next time that I am filtering this out, by the follow-up or no response, the color itself will change. We're now at row 121. So on rows 121 to row 125, there is no status list associated with this one, as we did filter it, but we can easily fix that. What we could do is we'll grab the status updates from over here on the right-hand side. So just for the sake of example, and then we'll go back to what we were doing. We were looking at row 121. So I just defiltered it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select this. I'm going to click data. I'm going to click data validation. I'm going to click list. And I'm going to click source. And I'm going to come over here to my source. And I'm going to select all of this as my source. When I click OK, and I scroll down to row 121, you can see here now that there's a drop-down functionality. Now, remember the color that we chose. We chose a dark red with black text. You can see how now that the color got changed. So that is how you use the Excel functionality. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to the follow-up of no response. So let's change this to follow-up, no response. We can see here that we have a break on row 121. I want to disregard this completely. So what I may do is something like this, where there's an empty status. Because there's an empty status, the blasting of email will now send out emails to row 30 through 32. So let's say you want a status update from an agent or seller regarding your offer that was submitted. How do we do that? Click on the drop down. Click on Happy Friday, quickly following up on our LOI submission. Today just happens to be Tuesday, so I'm going to change that to Tuesday. And now we are going to change the row to row 30. And we are going to click email. There should be 3 emails that auto-populate. And we are done. And that was based off of a follow-up response. So we have Jason's name. We have the property address in question. If you want to attach the PDF, you can. You don't have to, because this is a follow-up email. We have Bob. We have Bob's email. Bob's email happened to be 123@gmail.com. They're actually all 123@gmail.com, but the property address is 128 Main Street. So we can see that that functionality is included as well. And last but not least, Denacia. And if you don't want to attach the LOI, simply just come over here and change this to false. and click blast email, and there will be no LOI attached. So that is how you can send out emails based off of a filtered setting. Best way to do that is, again, through the text and color of the status. So I quickly showed you that. I think that's really important to know. It may be proven useful for any other work that you may be working on at this moment in time as well. So we'll clear the status now, and everything went back to its original format. So that concludes the blasting of emails here from the master tab. I hope that was helpful. Remember that when you're doing work, you're working off of this input here. Once this input is generated for the single email use, please be sure to convert the text to PDF. Then you can send out an email. I'm going to click convert text to PDF, send email. This could be used for immediate purposes. If you don't want to send out an email if you don't want to send out an email immediately, you can wait until the end of the day. But just be mindful that you still need to convert the text to PDF. So as you are doing work, whatever prospect you're working on, once you have entered their information and once you have done the math, depending on the deal acquisition type, click on convert text to PDF. If you don't do that, then when it is time for you to send out an email, the LOI does not exist because you never saved it. So be mindful of that. This concludes part 1B. And in the next video, we'll go into a full underwriting demonstration for sub 2 acquisition. That will be part 2.